Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Tuesday, January the 28th, 2020. On today's show, I continue the position unit preview series by breaking down the Gamecocks shortstops heading into the 2020 season. I'll talk about the key losses, who's back, who has the most to prove, the best overall, and much, much more. Also, I take some time to pay my respects and give my thoughts on a legend, obviously the passing of Kobe Bryant, give my thoughts on just what Kobe meant to myself personally, meant to the sports world, obviously. Take some time to reflect, grieve a little bit, read some of your comments, take some of your voicemails as well, and just reflect on what is a tragedy and a major loss for not just people that are Lakers fans, basketball fans, sports fans, but just the human race in general. Before we get into everything, this is a podcasting to our friends over at Ag South Farm Credit. Guys, most lenders don't understand land financing. Ag South Farm Credit specializes in land financing and has been doing it for over 100 years. They make loans for small and large acreage, hunting property, timberland, farm and pasture land, even home mortgages and construction. They have a ton of great benefits, including long-term fixed-rate financing for 20 years, down payments as low as 15%. They have competitive rates, and they pay an average of 25% of the interest back every year as what they call patronage. They're cooperative, so they share in their profits with their member borrowers. Guys, for example, on a $300,000 loan at 6.5% for 20 years, you would get back $2,770 each year. They have an experienced lending staff that knows land and knows how to finance it. Guys, whenever you're making a big-time life decision, whatever it may be, whether you're getting a car, you're buying your first house, you're buying your dream house, you're getting a plot of land, whatever it is, you want to make sure you have the right people in your corner. You want to have that right support system, someone who's going to make you feel comfortable, make whatever you're doing easy for you. Ag South Farm Credit is that lender. They are those people that are going to be in your corner. They're going to make the process super simple and super easy for you. One of the questions they get asked most often, why are land loan rates higher than mortgages? So rates will be higher on land loans because they have higher risk than home mortgages. So variables like land quality, accessibility, location, if it has amenities or not, that can make the land more or less risky to lend on. Also, obviously, the better your financial situation, the better your rate is going to be. So, guys, if you have any other questions, if you want any more information on their land loans, give them a call, 844-AG-SOUTH, or visit their website, agsouthfc.com/TSUS. That's AGSOUTHFC.com/TSUS. Ag South's an equal housing lender, NMLS 619788. So, again, their website, agsouthfc.com/TSUS, or give them a call, 844-AG-SOUTH, and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. All right, let's get into it. All right, I'm Chris Phillips, host of the Spurs Up Show, as always. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a lot to talk about. Got a packed show. Before we get into everything, a couple of housekeeping items I do want to go over. First off, if you have not done so, click the pause button. Do me a favor. Rate the show. Go leave a review. Whatever platform you're on, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever it may be. Take the time right now. Click the pause button. Go leave a 5-star review. If you have any thoughts, feedback, whatever it may be, maybe there's some things you like, things you don't like, you want to let me know. That's the best way to do it. Go leave a review there. Really, really do appreciate it. Helps boost up the show and helps other people that maybe aren't familiar with the Spurs Up Show to find the podcast. So, again, if you guys could leave a 5-star review, I would really, really appreciate it. Also, if you're listening right now and you are not subscribed and not sure what you're doing, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends about it as well. Tell them to hit the subscribe button. You're going to be notified each and every single day when the new daily podcast drops. So, again, if you're tuned in right now and you're not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, really excited now. It's going to drop some new merch this week. Friday, we are dropping 2 new T-shirts that I'm very, very excited about. I know a lot of you have been asking, where's the merch at? Because the store right now is sitting empty. Really revamping the store, if you will. Going to do probably like 2 or 3 drops per month. Moving more so towards that versus just having like the generic basic logo merchandise and stuff like that. Making really, really cool, unique merchandise for South Carolina fans. And the 2 that we're dropping on Friday, I know you guys are going to love them. So, again, be sure to stay tuned for that. We'll obviously be all over social media, and I'll keep honestly announcing it on the podcast. But Friday, the new merchandise will be dropping. I'm very, very fired up about it, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you have not done so, the Twitch streams are back. Be sure to go follow the Spurs Up Show on Twitch. We just ran a a South Carolina versus East Carolina gameplay yesterday on Twitch or yesterday afternoon. We're going to be putting those out Monday, Thursday, Twitch streams every single week. My buddy Tim is going to be doing a phenomenal job with that. A lot of fun with those, really entertaining. Be sure to tune in at that 5 o'clock Mondays and Thursdays. And if you haven't done so, go follow the Spurs Up Show on Twitch. It'll actually give you a notification to when we go live. So be sure to check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun, really, really cool stuff. And obviously going to be doing it a lot each and every single week, but especially as we get closer to football season, because it's really going to revolve around NCAA Football 14, which why not, right? Give yourself a football fix while we're in the middle of the offseason. So be sure to check that out as well. All right, want to dive right into some baseball. Obviously, talking about the position unit previews. Continuing with that, I want to talk about the Gamecocks shortstop today, the shortstop position. As we continue through the position unit previews, we'll do the shortstops today. We'll do the third baseman tomorrow as we get closer and closer to opening day. Now we're just 17 days away from opening day. It's getting here before you know it. Let's start with the key losses. When you take a look at the shortstop position, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. This really centers around one guy, and that one guy is George Callil. George Callil being the guy that really played the position most of basically all of last year. Your key loss here is Nick Neville. I think we might have talked about him with the second baseman as well, but Nick Neville being the guy, a guy that transferred out of South Carolina. You know, it's crazy with Neville. Started out so hot for the Gamecocks. Started out really hot. He was the starting shortstop to start the season last year. I think he hit like 440 over the first weekend last year for Carolina. After that, I don't know what happened. It felt like he got 1 or 2 hits the rest of the freaking season, but it became very apparent very quickly that maybe he was not ready for SEC baseball. This level was a little bit too much for him. He has since transferred. He's really the only guy you lose, though, that played the shortstop position other than George Callil. I talk about who's back, already mentioning George Callil. I'll talk about some of the other guys, some of the additions the Gamecocks have added in. Braylon Wimmer, a guy who's been playing a lot of shortstop in the inter squads and the scrimmages, a freshman, kids at 6'4", that normally you don't see guys that playing in the middle infield that are that tall, that big at 6'4", but very rangy kid, can swing the bat a little bit. I like what I see out of him as a true freshman. And then I didn't talk about him with the second baseman, but I feel remiss not to bring him up, and that is Jeff Heinrich, a kid that missed the fall, which is the reason I didn't chat about him in the second baseman conversation. But Jeff Heinrich, and I can tell you guys from being out of the scrimmages, looks really, really good, has a hot bat, looks really comfortable at the plate, a guy who's solid. He plays middle infield, so we could throw him in there with the shortstops as well. He's played some short, played some second, but overall, Jeff Heinrich, a middle infielder that I would be very surprised right now is not going to see a lot of innings on the field for South Carolina at some position, whether that's short, whether that's second. You can obviously move those guys around, but Jeff Heinrich is someone I feel like I had to mention. And as we go into the most to prove, I'm going to stick with that. It is going to be Jeff Heinrich. Heinrich, a guy, there's a lot of hype coming around him in this spring, obviously coming into this season. I've talked to a lot of Gamecock fans who think they're expecting him to be the starting second baseman, even over Noah Campbell. Again, he's played a lot of short in the scrimmages as well, which is why I'm mentioning him here at the shortstop position. But Heinrich, a guy, you know, I as far as having something to prove, when you have that type of hype and, you know, everyone's expecting things out of you, and especially when you're playing the way he has played so far throughout the spring. I mean, a guy who's looked really good in the scrimmages, in my opinion, has looked really comfortable. He looks good at the plate. Again, the Monday scrimmage, for example, guys, he had 2 doubles. I mean, a guy that looks really, really good, looks the part. Now can he translate it over? Can he translate it over to SEC baseball? Because, again, we saw a guy like Nick Neville, what he did a year ago. You know, we've seen guys do it like that, get started off hot in the non-conference and then kind of fall apart when conference play gets there and the competition takes a step up. So I think Heinrich's a guy, again, that can really battle for some innings. I think he's a guy that, especially if he continues to swing the bat the way he is, it's going to be hard to keep him out of the lineup in some capacity. And again, has a good enough glove for sure to contribute, whether that be at shortstop, they want to give George Callil a break, or if they want to switch it around and maybe shuffle some guys at between short, second, third, whatever it may be. Heinrich is a guy, again, especially if he keeps swinging the bat the way he is, he's going to have an opportunity to make an impact, but he's got to prove it. He's got to prove it as a new guy, a guy coming in who hasn't played SEC baseball before. Can he translate it over? Can he do that? The best overall, I've been talking about him already, but it's George Callil, hands down, no doubt. You know, a guy that wasn't great at the plate last year, obviously. You take a look at his stats. I mean, he only hit .214, 4 homers, 17 RBIs. But I will say this about George. First year playing SEC baseball, obviously the Aussie. I think he's the best defensive shortstop the Gamecocks have had since Bobby Haney. And he really reminds me of Bobby a lot in that regard. Very, very smooth. I mean, you guys watched him last year. but very smooth. If y'all remember Bobby Haney's game, the play that was like his signature play, you felt like, was the slow roll, the ball coming in, field it, kind of throw it, almost like a little sidearm type deal, just flick it over to first, and it looked effortless. George Callil has that play down pat as well. He mirrors Bobby Haney in that regard. I'm telling you, this is a kid where, again, and watching him in the scrimmages this spring, it's funny. George Callil every now and then will run into one. He's a guy that he'll have some at bats where he doesn't look so great, but then he'll have some at bats where, he can really run into the baseball. He had the Monday scrimmage, he had a double in the gap. He's a guy that can run into it every now and then. But, God, if he can just even hit 250 for South Carolina, his glove is so good he's not coming out of the lineup, in my honest opinion. His glove is that good at shortstop. And, again, I think the potential is there for him to be a solid hitter. I don't think this South Carolina lineup and Mark Kingston and the staff are going to ask him to be a guy, you have to hit 300. Like, God, if he can just, again, hit 250 for South Carolina, if he can just be a decent hitter, an average hitter, even be an average hitter, it's going to enhance his game tremendously because, again, he's so good defensively in the field. Overall, again, he's the best overall. He's their best option at shortstop. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be your opening day shortstop and will be the shortstop throughout the entire season. Again, he can definitely get a lot better at the plate. And he reminds me, again, of a guy like Bobby Haney or a guy like Scott Wingo, guys that were really, really good defensively, and they sort of had to figure it out over the course of their careers at the plate, but eventually did. Hopefully George Callil is sort of that next guy who eventually does figure out the plate. Because, again, if he does, he's going to be truly the all-around package as far as a guy that can do it in every phase, whether it's defensively, offensively, whatever it may be. So George Callil, no doubt, to me, the best overall when it comes to the shortstop position for South Carolina. Again, the season will be successful if, simple, George Callil just stays healthy. And, again, knock on wood. But basically what I'm trying to say is if George Callil's in the lineup, it's going to be a good year. I'm very, very confident George is going to have a very good year. What you're getting out of him defensively. He's extremely consistent in that regard. He makes all the plays. He can make all the plays, the diving plays, the double plays, whatever it may be. He's a human vacuum at shortstop. And then, again, at the plate, that's where he needs to improve the most, obviously. But I think he will improve going from last year to this year. He's gotten his feet wet with SEC baseball. I think he will improve a lot at the plate. So, to me, it's just simply put, George Callil stays healthy and he's on the field for South Carolina in the uniform. It's going to be a successful year for the shortstops. I really do think George is your everyday shortstop, and he's going to have a really, really good year for South Carolina. My overall grade for the shortstop is going to be a B+. Again, I feel really good about the situation with George Callil. Contrary to last year, who your starting shortstop is going into this year. I do think there's potential behind him. Again, I like Braylon Wimmer's game. I don't know how much he's really going to play being a true freshman, but a guy that's 6'4", that has shown range out there, shown a solid glove. I think, he's had some nice at-bats as well. Again, how will he transition to SEC baseball as a true freshman? I don't think he's going to be asked to do it a lot because, thankfully, the Gamecocks have other options. But Wimmer's a guy with potential. And then, again, Jeff Heinrich, I don't know if he's going to spend more time at second or what he's going to do. I think it most likely will be second. But you have other options there as well, whether you just simply want to give George Callil a day off or you want to make a defensive substitution or switch guys around, whatever it may be. There is depth there. There are other options there. So I'm going to give the unit a B+. And, again, it's all led by George Callil, in my opinion. He's your opening day shortstop. He's your everyday shortstop, a guy, again, I don't think we've seen one as good since Bobby Haney, in my honest opinion. And I think that if he can figure it out at the plate, if he can get the bat going, he's a guy, in my opinion, can be scary good. He could be one of the better shortstops in the SEC for the Gamecocks. So that's the preview in the shortstops. Again, we'll talk about the third baseman tomorrow, but really, really excited about the potential of the shortstop position and, again, just the type of year that I think George Callil can have for this Gamecocks baseball team. Switching gears big time. So obviously we are all familiar at this point, especially with what happened on Sunday afternoon with the tragedy that is the death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, Gigi, the 7 other people that were on the helicopter. I'll be completely honest with you guys. So I was recording yesterday's show. Obviously I recorded the day before. I was recording yesterday's show early Sunday. Gamecocks had a scrimmage. Obviously, the baseball scrimmage Sunday was at 3:30. Figured I'd knock it out. I recorded around 1 o'clock or so. And I was probably 90% of the way through the show I record on my MacBook, obviously. So if anyone that has a MacBook, it's linked to your text messages through your iMessage, blah, 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 whatever. And as I'm recording, I see a text message pop up from a buddy of mine. And this is how I find out. And the text said, "Oh my God, did you see Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash 15 minutes ago?" And I paused it felt like I paused for an eternity. I'm sure you guys probably couldn't tell in the actual podcast, but I paused and kind of caught myself, and I was like, that has to be a sick joke. I mean, this has to be, what is this, like a basketball pun? Like, is this just like a terrible joke you're trying to make? Like, what are you talking about? So, I finished up recording the show, obviously got it ready for Monday, and as I'm doing that, I go on Twitter and obviously see the news and everything. So wasn't able to address it on yesterday's show. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, I've been conflicted about it, how to handle it, because, what I do, again, is it's a Gamecocks podcast, obviously, and Kobe Bryant doesn't necessarily have any ties to South Carolina or anything like that. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this situation, because I found myself over the last couple of days getting, emotional about it at different times. I mean, you watch all this Kobe Bryant coverage on SportsCenter and you hear all the recollections of it. I mean, listen, Kobe was a guy that I watched growing up. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I'm not the biggest basketball guy, especially the NBA. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm not a big NBA guy. But I mean, I remember specifically, being a teenager watching his Lakers teams, him and Shaq, and what they did, and then watching him when he won it in 09 and 10. And, I mean, just an icon, a true legend, a GOAT. But anyways, I really wasn't sure how I wanted to handle it. Did I want to bring it up on the podcast? How much did I want to talk about it? You know what I mean? And I just figured this is something that really transcends sport, and it affects us all to some degree. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter that he wasn't a Gamecock or that he had no, impact or influence or whatever on South Carolina. It impacts us all as human beings. I think that's what makes me most sad about it, is that, we're not just talking about a guy who is one of the greats of all time in his respective sport, but we're talking about someone who was a father, his daughter being on the helicopter. It's just, the 7 others too with their families. I mean, there's a lot of people right now that lost a father, a sibling, a friend, whatever, brother, whatever. I mean, it's, so in that regard, when you think about it from the human aspect, I mean, Kobe Bryant was someone that inspired millions upon millions of people across the world, including me. I mean, the Mamba mentality and just the way he was a ferocious competitor. He was, it's the impact he had and will continue to have is really hard to put in words. I'll be honest, guys, it's really not an easy thing for me to talk about, just in the sense, like, I don't really know what to say. I can, you guys know me very well, obviously, from doing this podcast, and, I'm always honest with you guys about everything. I'm not someone that handles these types of situations all that great. It's beyond comprehension, almost something where it's still like you don't believe it. You see it and you still can't even fathom it or comprehend it or process it. Again, Kobe Bryant's impact, and it's so tragic because, the second act of his life was just beginning. I mean, obviously, his daughter, Gigi, her life was just starting. I mean, 13 years old, have your life taken away from you like that. But the second act of his life was just getting going. And I think we could all argue it may have been even more impressive than what he did on the court, with all the children's books he wrote and won an Oscar. And, I can't even imagine what he would have done in the game of basketball, the NBA, women's basketball, everything. It's tragic. I don't know how long, it's crazy. I don't know how long it's going to take for everybody to get, I don't want to even say get over it, because I don't think you'll ever get over it, but to process it and sort of compartmentalize it and move on, Like I said, I mean, for me, it's something where, like, I never met the guy. I never even saw him play live. You know what I mean? I never even saw him play in person. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm not really even an NBA fan like that. I'm not like a guy that sits there and watches the NBA all the time. Like, but this goes so far beyond just even being a sports fan, just being a human being. this tragedy affects us all. It's just I think it's a real reminder how short and fragile life is. And it's unfortunate it takes something like this to remind us that. But, it's a reminder just how fragile life is, and it's, whatever, we get all caught up on being on social media and bickering back and forth with one another and screw you and F you and all this about our sports takes and our opinions on our favorite teams. I just think directly for me, like South Carolina and the people that I've gotten in arguments with and, said things to. I've never tried to make anything personal. I don't think I have, but how little I guess that stuff really matters. You know what I mean? Like how insignificant holding on to grudges or petty differences, how silly it is. You know what I mean? Because it can all be gone in an instant, and that's, it's not worth it. So, it's just tragic. It's terrible. I mean, it's terrible for the sports world. Again, it affects us all. That was what really made my decision. I know there's a couple of you out there that, I got a couple of voicemails I want to play and a response on social media I want to read as well, because there's people out there in the South Carolina community that were affected by this. And you heard the comments from Dawn Staley and Frank Martin and, different fans and just people. Again, this transcends sport. It transcends South Carolina. It transcends everything. It's a human issue. It's a human tragedy. You know what I mean? I want to read this response here because obviously you guys probably saw the tweet I put on social media about, if you had any memories or anything you wanted to say about Kobe Bryant. I think this is, one way of grieving, if you will, of people getting to express how they felt about him. And I definitely wanted to provide that opportunity to anybody that wanted it. Gamecock Louie guy at USC Louie said on social media, on Twitter, he said, I was in middle school, 04-05, the Bobcats' first year back at Charlotte Coliseum. Lakers had a big comeback. Me, my dad, and friends started a Kobe chant during the Lakers' last time out. Kobe knocked down a game winner with 0.9 seconds left. We went nuts in our number 8 jerseys. # Mamba forever. Yeah, I mean, his game, an assassin on the court, obviously. I mean, the dude was just insane, crazy, fun to watch. I mean, again, I like I said many times, I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm not like a diehard NBA fan, but I remember specifically watching him and Shaq in the early 2000s and then watching him overcome, the allegations of what happened, whatever. I won't dive too deep into that, but we saw him go through controversy and we saw him sort of grow up, and we saw the 81-point game and 09 and 10 winning the titles and his 60-point game to close out his career. Like, so many memories of a guy that just gave everything to the game of basketball. It's just crazy. I do have 2 voicemails I want to play really, really quickly. Let's go ahead and jump into these.
Y'all were taking comments on Kobe Bryant, and I wanted to share this. My son is only 6 years old, and he and I play a video game together, and Kobe Bryant is actually on that video game. Whenever we heard the news yesterday, all of us were kind of shaken up, and I think my son could tell that we were. He said he immediately wanted to go in and play the video game, and he wanted me to put on my Kobe jersey, and he wanted to play the game and score 100 points with Kobe in the game. Well, we ended up scoring 187 points with Kobe, getting a quadruple double with him. And as soon as we were done, my 6-year-old wanted to go outside and shoot basketball like Kobe Bryant. So this kid has never seen Kobe play in person, hardly knew him, but he's seen enough and has heard enough great stories to be profoundly affected by the events of the last few days, like we all have been. Rest in peace to one of the greatest of all time.
All right, thank you for that voicemail. That's awesome stuff, man. Yeah, I mean, it's when it's a guy like that, when it's an athlete like that, he affects, those type of people affect, so many beyond, even if you watched them play, you didn't, whatever. I mean, their impact is felt so far beyond the expected scope. I really don't know the words, guys. It's tough. It's tough to comprehend. That's why I was like, when doing this show, I was like, we need to talk about the baseball stuff first because I think my brain will be kind of scrambled eggs if I try to do the Kobe Bryant stuff first. But no, really appreciate the voicemail. Got one more voicemail here, and it's from somebody that I think you guys just might recognize.
Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? Just calling in. Yeah, one of the worst mornings as a sports fan that I've known since I've been alive, pretty much. I think, and some people are also, they're also chiming in and kind of mad that we're not mentioning the other people on board of the helicopter that were killed. But it's just, people die all the time. People die every single day. But when somebody who's that inspirational, in the sports world, who's basically sports is basically all our lives. If you were athletic or you grew up playing a sport, and Kobe just had that unbelievable impact and inspiration, the positive inspiration, positive drive, that killer instinct on the court. But back again to where we were talking about with the other people that passed away, we're thinking of them and their families as well. But Kobe had the most unbelievable inspiration on not just thousands and hundreds of thousands, but millions of people all over the world. And it's just a tough, I don't know, man. It's just a real tough day for anybody growing up in the 90s, early 2000s. Me, other people, whether it's basketball or any other sport, it's pretty brutal. It's like you know the person, but you don't. Never met him, but it's just that type of day and that type of weekend. I don't think people want to let it. People don't want to get over. People are not going to get over this for a while. It's just one of the worst days in sports history. Has to be the way he perished yesterday. But I think we should just talk about it a little more, and because it just inspires so many people. As simple as that. I don't think this is going to blow over, anytime soon. So just calling in. Thanks for taking my call, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.
All right, that was the voice of former Gamecocks shortstop and all-time great Bobby Haney. If you guys didn't recognize it, Bobby, a guy that's become a good friend of mine, and obviously somebody we talked about this after it happened, is was a guy that was inspired by Kobe Bryant and still is, I'm sure. I know for sure. Growing up, watching him do what he did and do what he did for the game, for other people, what he was doing for his daughters, his family, again, the sport of basketball, just sports in general, athletes. Like you said, it's like you don't know. It's like you know him, but you don't. You never met him. But just a tragic loss. I mean, it's beyond words, and I don't know how long it will take or, when people will be able to sort of, like I said, put one foot in front of the other and kind of, put it in the back of their minds, I guess, instead of the forefront, because it's still very much, at the forefront. I mean, the game tonight that was supposed to be tonight, Lakers and Clippers, was canceled. So the next home game for the Lakers will be Friday, and obviously they're probably going to do some sort of tribute and everything else. It's going to be a very emotional couple of weeks for people. I mean, really, this is something that's not going away. So obviously the condolences to the Bryant family, Vanessa Bryant, his 3 other daughters, the 7 other people that were killed, their families. I mean, all the countless people that were touched by this. Really tough. So I appreciate you guys letting me express my thoughts on it. Again, I know this is a Gamecocks podcast, and it's not a Kobe Bryant podcast. It's not an NBA podcast or a Lakers podcast or whatever, but I feel like it was something we really needed to talk about. It's something, again, that goes beyond sport. So I appreciate you guys for letting me do that. A couple news and notes here, and then we'll wrap it up. One thing I just want to touch on: Baseball America releasing their preseason All-American team. Sort of surprising here. I mean, Carmen Majinski named second-team preseason All-American. That's not the surprising part. What is surprising? Noah Campbell, preseason third-team All-American by Baseball America. These guys must really love his game or really love what he's done in the Cape Cod. Again, I'm not saying Noah doesn't have that potential, but for a guy who had the year that he had last year, it's really giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was very, very surprised. So let's hope Noah can live up to it. I mean, again, he's a guy that has the tools, has the ability, has looked pretty good so far this spring in the scrimmages, but he's got to put it together on the field. And I already talked about last week with the second baseman. It's just for him getting off to a fast start, not falling behind the eight ball, if you will. That, to me, is what's going to be most important for Noah Campbell, get this thing rolling in 2020. So, again, Carmen Majinski, second team, Noah Campbell, third team, preseason All-Americans for Baseball All-America. That's going to do it for me, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Before we go, if you need tickets to literally anything and everything, single-game tickets for South Carolina baseball were actually just released. You can get tickets to all 3 South Carolina Clemson baseball games as well. If you need tickets to South Carolina basketball, concerts, comedy club events, I think Dave Chappelle is in Columbia this week. Post Malone's coming to Columbia, I believe, next month. Whatever it may be. Concerts, comedy club events, professional sports, college sports, the Super Bowl, I don't care what it is. Go download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code SPURSUP. You're going to save $20 off your first purchase. Guys, SeatGeek is the way to go. They're the best ticket buying app by far. They're the only one I use when I need tickets to literally anything and everything. They've got a great ticket rating system which rates the tickets for you based on the type of deal you're getting. So never again you can have to worry about scalping or overpaying or you're worrying about, where am I sitting? Like, what am I paying compared to the person next to me? SeatGeek does all the work for you. They're going to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, and you're going to have that peace of mind before you click the buy button. So, again, that's our friends over at SeatGeek. Go download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPRSUP, to save $20 off your first purchase. As always, guys, I'm Crystal. It's the Spurs Up Show. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will talk to you tomorrow.